Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
All right, let's say you're going to do a renovation on your home or your business. A lot involved with that. How do you pick the contractor? How do you choose the contractor? What are some of the things you should look for when hiring the people that you're going to make a big investment in? We're going to talk to somebody who can give us a lot of insights on that. And she is a one-stop shop when it comes to all of this stuff, from designing, building, the whole contractor, everything. Julie Laughton is back on the program, live and direct from California. How are you?
I'm very good, Steve. Thanks. Good to be back. Thanks for having me back. And I'm excited to talk about this topic.
Julie's on the move today. I can see you're driving. Before we even begin, you're like the busiest woman on the planet. What are you doing? Where are you coming from? Where are you going? I want to get in Julie's world. Well, we're in your car right now. Where are we going?
We're going home to my office so I can do a Zoom with my draftsman about one of our new projects, which is a really special kind of vintage home in Laguna Beach. And I just had lunch with the head of the building department at Laguna Beach. And, he's been busy. And I've been in my truck since 5:30 this morning. I actually got my truck a little late. I'm usually in there by 5 a.m.
Wow. And I love the fact that you keep these relationships going with the building department, because they are a fundamental part of your business, right?
Yes, they are. And I like to do things right and obey the rules and, shine as a contractor. I like to make it easier to work with me and not more difficult. And when I go to the counter as the designer, I always make sure I'm prepared and don't scream and shout at anybody if I don't, get my plans approved, because it's a process.
As a homeowner, having been there and done that quite a number of times, it's a challenge. I mean, even just going before the board, just filing is enough. Then going before a board when you want to make a change, it's a lot. I don't want to do that. That's why I'm hiring you.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't even want to do it, especially the homeowners association.
Well, yeah. Good luck with that. When it comes to hiring a contractor, it's a big decision. Let's say you have three in front of you. You've done your due diligence. You've gotten recommendations. Maybe they were suggested from some people that you know. How do you ultimately make the decision on which one to go with?
Well, first of all three should have good references, and you should have seen their job. So once you get past that part, and they know how to run a business, and they don't have any lawsuits, and they don't have any problems on their license, once you get past that part, then you got to actually pick the guy that you get along with and your personalities match. Because if you're an A-type personality like me and he's like quiet, it's never going to work, because you need to talk and express it. You got to be able to match personalities and actually get along with the guy. But again, before you hire them, all the candidates should be good in their hands and on a lot of money. So you got to be able to trust them.
So we had a spotty signal right at the pinnacle moment where you said, before you hire him, you've got to, and that's where it kind of broke up a little bit.
Okay, so I break up again, but before you hire them, and that's that feeling you get when you meet with people, that connection that you feel comfortable with them. You got to come to them because you've checked your references and looked at their work, but you got to have that gut feeling, has to be good.
It's like any relationship. You got to feel it. That's, if you're going to enter in a relationship with anybody, you're going to know. If there's anything that stands out, I would imagine a red flag from within, you're going to move forward or move against this person. What are some of the red flags? Anything that stands out in your mind?
Well, the red flags are, their personal appearance. If they seem disheveled, if their truck is messy. Barbara Cochran, her big thing is, if you want to find a good contractor, just look in his truck and see if it's neat. So their personal appearance, how they keep their truck, are they neat and orderly? But you have to figure out if they're honest, and you have to find that out through checking their reputation. But also, did they show up on time? Did they return your call in a timely manner? You know, were they late? Did they blow you off? I mean, all that little stuff, like common courtesy, that's huge.
You know, absolutely. Think of it this way. You're dating someone, right? Beginning stages of the relationship. The guy's late, shows up late, has a lame excuse. I mean, things happen. You know, there could have been a major accident somewhere and he was delayed, but you'll know it, you'll feel it. But I think it's the same kind of thing. You're dating somebody. You're putting a lot of you into this person, be it somebody you're dating or somebody who you're spending thousands of dollars with. You got to feel right about that. How about some other red flags that stand out for you?
Well, the other red flags are if you go on there and do the research and go on the Contractors Board website and you see things on there that are warnings, and then you know it's not good. Or if their license is expired or they don't have insurance, you know, and there's lawsuits. So, you know, you can find that out with a little digging, but those are red flags.
Where do you look for that? You said something about some kind of contractor sign? Yeah.
Yeah, so you go to the Contractor State License Board, the CSLB. And you just Google Contractor State License Board, and then you push in the search for license. You can use their name or their license number to search their information. Yeah.
Well, I guess rewind. Let's go right before we even get to that point. Make sure they're licensed.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's number one.
Yeah. Because a lot of us just assume it. And let's say, you know, Jimmy Contractor shows up with a nice, clean truck and he looks polished and he looks good. He might not have a license. And walk us through that in terms of getting a license. What's required there?
They have to take the contractor's license, and then they have to be $1 million of liability and workers' comp insurance. So it's not just the license, it's the liability insurance and the workers' comp. So if they don't have that, you can't work with them. And they might they might say, oh, I don't have any employees, but then they show up with employees. So they have to have workers' comp unless they truly are doing the job alone, but nobody does it alone anymore. So, right. You know, you have to be very careful. And
in order to get licensed, is there some kind of exam, just an application?
Oh yeah, it's a very long exam. I think it's 4 hours long. It's like 3 binders.
Wow.
It's the law part and the construction part. Actually, it's 2 sections, but it's very long and it's tough. A lot of people don't pass it. And the number one rule, like with us, is like when we meet new people. Like I wanted to find a new waterproofer the other day, so I had my girls look up, and I just had them Google because I thought, you know, let's just Google because waterproofers are kind of dime a dozen. And we found one, and he filled out the paperwork, and then we looked his license up, and it didn't exist.
So he just came up with any license number.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Wow.
And then he claimed he wrote it down wrong. And then he said, let me give you my buddy's license number. And he had a different company. I'm like, who are you? You know, get out of here. So I just told my girls, because we're trying to find a couple new people because we're growing. And I just told my girls, we're not going to do that again. No more Google searches. We're going to ask people we know for people they know that they've worked with for the last 10 years so they can vouch for them. And that's how we're going to do this.
Wow.
Yeah, I was kind of shocked because he just put in any number.
And, you know, major breaking of a law right there to say.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
And he was ballsy and pushy about it, too. That was the other thing that blew me away.
You know, I'm glad we talked about this because it just adds more respect to legit contractors who went through the exam process. And how deep does it go in terms of, you know, the questions and the qualifications to get a license?
It's deep. I took this exam. I studied for weeks, and I passed the exam with like a 98%, and I was kind of shocked. But the lady that was watching us, because we have to be locked in a room with the camera on us and make sure we're not cheating. So there's a camera right above your desk, and then somebody stands behind you. So it's very serious, and you're locked in a room. You cannot leave unless you're allowed to leave. So she told me, wow, you took the test faster than anybody on record that I've ever remembered, and you got a 98. I'm like, damn, thank you, gosh, because I studied for 6 weeks because, I went to college, so I have this thing about studying. I don't know. But the stuff I studied was not on the exam.
Oh,
It was so like, oh, shit. And then, but all the stuff on there was like, oh my God, I remember this from that. And I got it. And because of all the stuff I learned standing in the dirt in New York City, like what is the concrete slump and how do you calculate it? I mean, how did I remember this?
wow. New York City. Didn't know you were from those parts where we are here.
I'm from Iowa, and I got an internship from college. My counselor got me an internship in an architectural firm in New York City. She did me a solid. And I went to New York City the last summer of college, 3 months, and worked for a company called Sheridan Harinsky, and I loved it. And then I went back and worked for another one called Andrew Blackman. It was the other way around, Andrew Blackman first and then Sheridan Harinsky, and I ended up designing Bank of America's new logo that they still have today. I was on the team that helped, because we did a lot of banks and corporate bank offices, because one of the partners was a banker. And then we did jewelry stores and David Webb Jewelry, like all these commercial stuff. And these were 100,000 square foot bank, corporate offices and law offices we did, and retail space. It was so fun. And then I moved into residential. So.
Wow. And do you focus only on residential?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So I'm taking my vitamins. I know. Got to do it sometimes. See, I didn't want to do it when I was driving. So right now I'm 95% residential, but I did do a fire station, and I bid on a police station. So I am a prevailing wage contractor too, and I also do commercial. And I'm registered with the SAM.gov, which is the federal government, and I'm a certified woman-owned business.
Well, with the type of work I've seen in some of the residential projects you've done, I get that fire station had to be pretty bougie.
It was really nice because it was the oldest fire station ever built in Southern California. It's one of the first ones, and it was built in like 1928. And they know me for my vintage cottages, so they picked me to do it.
Wow, oh, interesting. I didn't know that you were mostly residential. I mean, the projects that we've talked about have been, but I thought there was some more out there in terms of commercial. Why do you love residential?
Because believe it or not, I like helping the homeowner, because there's so much misinformation out there, and the homeowners get sidetracked by the too many players in the game. By the time they get to the contractor, it could be a mess. But I really like helping homeowners because they don't get the help. There's no place to go to ask questions. I mean, it's almost impossible to do your research. There's no like book that says, hey, this is how you should do it. This is who you should hire. This is when you should hire them. And this is why you should hire them. And, so then what I did is I wrote a book about it, but I just really have it in the 7 simple steps, because no one wants to go to the trouble to explain to the homeowner what they should and shouldn't do. They just all want to take the money, like the architect or the decorator or the designer or the contractor, and they just want to focus on what they do. They don't want to help the client understand, well, maybe you should do this and not that, because that would prevent this and that from happening. They don't want to help them, the seamless. So I like doing the seamless process and championing the project, championing the project for the client and watching out for their best interest. I enjoy doing that.
Well, there's something very personal connected to that. When you're working with a homeowner, they're so jacked up and excited about doing what they're doing. If it's a commercial site, it's great, but you don't have that personal touch. You don't have the same kind of excitement from the client typically because they're not personally invested in it.
No, I had a lunch dinner with some women that also do what I do last week, and 2 of them are 100% commercial. There is no client. It's all business, marketing, design plans. Corporations are paying for it. No client. Yeah. No emotion.
No emotion. Yeah. Thank you for saying that, because that's, you sign it, you sign up, you get it done, and that's it. That's, there's this supervisor on there. How did now we talked about you interning in New York. We briefly went over your history before that, but How did that all begin for you? Your interest in all of this architecture, design, building, construction. Let's be honest, not too many women do that. Just the way it
Well,
is.
it just, I don't know. I was born with this ability to draw. So I first started drawing dogs and cats. And then all of a sudden I was drawing buildings. Like I drew my whole high school and it was 3 blocks long and I drew every brick on the building. I mean, who does that? It was just this passion. I don't know. And then I started mechanical engineering, which is drafting in 7th grade. And I did that. And by the time I got to college, I tested out of mechanical engineering, which is the drafting and the 3D spatial and all that. So that's my thing. I mean, architecture and engineering is really my thing. And then I finished college with interior design. So, but I hate decorating and I don't, I'll do it, and it's important, but I like the structural element of building it and how to build it. So if I didn't pick buildings, maybe I'd pick cars and engines. It's the same concept. I like to know how to build it.
Did I hear you say you don't like decorating?
I don't like shopping for sofas and pillows and all that endless stuff because it's just overwhelming because there's too many choices. So here's the deal. I like doing it if I can control the style and I could just do a minimalist, simple, beautiful design that actually works with the architecture. I'm not interested in, just coming up with this funky thing. And I like doing styles and themes for the interior design, but I can do the architecture and the design, which is the stuff skewed and glued to the walls, and the contracting all day long. But that third person, the decorating and the shopping and the materials and all that, which is like soft goods, drapery and pillows and stuff, that's a whole nother career, which is what I'm licensed in, that I don't have time for. So I can do it, but if I really do it like custom, I have to have a bunch of girls under me or guys, helping me with that. That's a lot of work to do full-blown custom upholstery, drapery, and accessories and artwork. That's a whole nother arm.
Do you feel like you want to put your full stamp on it? And if you're not doing the full decorating project, it's almost, again, you're a shopper.
I love to do the full decorating aspect, but the last 2 jobs, Restoration Hardware, did it beautifully. And when people ask me to do it, they never really want to spend the money. And they always compromise and use their old furniture. So it's kind of their thing and their way. So yeah, if I do it, it's got to be 100% me involved in the look and a style. Because some clients don't want to do it. They don't have a style. So then I would develop that for them. But most clients, I've been fortunate, have really good taste and know how to pull it together. And that's the weird part. Most of my clients can do it and do it quite well. And I just consult.
But I get you there because everybody has a style. They have a unique, their style is not your style and vice versa. What is the most unusual item in an interior that somebody had to have left in? Like just, maybe it could have been an old wood-fired stove from, 1867 that had to stay there and you had to build around it. Anything like that come to mind?
I think it's the ones where the clients had their father or mother's things that were built in, or maybe a piece of furniture. Like my one client, she's 83 right now, and we're getting ready to repaint her house that we did 10 years ago. And her husband just passed, which is my other client. But when she got her house, it was her dad's house. And before that, it was her grandpa's house, so his dad's house. And that man who had the house in 1890, I think it was 1912, sorry. He was the first mayor of Newport Beach back when Newport was called Balboa. So there's all this history. And nobody remodeled it. The dad had it, and he did a little upgrading in the 60s. But he was a chain smoker, and everything was covered in smoke, but he never remodeled the bathroom. So when she got the house, we decided to demo everything except the den, where the dad had added his wood paneling and had his lazy boy where he did all of his smoking. So she wouldn't let us take the paneling down or touch his bookcases or anything. We got to do new flooring, but it was just kind of neat. It was like a time capsule of him for her. But we cleaned the walls and got all the smoke gone and repainted the ceilings and whatnot. But that was kind of sweet and nice because the first day of demo, she had to leave. She started crying because it was so emotional. But we did save that room for like a time capsule.
And there you use the E word again, emotion. And that's what makes you different, that you have emotion. It's not just autopilot. We're throwing in some beams, we're putting up walls. When you went into that room, before you did any changes, did it smell like smoke?
Oh yeah, it's yellow. Everything was yellowed.
Oh, and that was decades back, I gotta believe, right?
Yeah, I think he died probably 10 or 15 years before, and they'd had it, but they were living in other states because they were in real estate, so they never really got around to it. And yeah, it's bad. Yeah, we've had some that are just original, like wow. Yeah, the carpet was original. That's creepy. Yeah.
Right. First thing that comes to my mind is orange shag. Am I on target
Yeah,
here or what?
I think it was like a green and black shag. It wasn't.
Yeesh.
It was same thing, same theme.
Yeah. Wow. Biggest surprise you found in a demo, going through walls, finding stuff, because you always hear I just saw somebody who did a demo of a house, and they found, what was it? Bottles of, I believe it was Bacardi. You hear 99 bottles of beer on the wall. It wasn't. It was 99 bottles of Bacardi that came flowing out.
Well, here's the deal. Every house that we demo that's built in the 50s or actually the 60s, we find a Coors can. One Coors can, every house. I don't know why it's a Coors can, but that must have been the thing in the 70s because, but the funnest thing in the house I was just talking about, we found the newspapers of the day, and that was neat because I used them for insulation. But I know there's something cooler. I found, what was it? It was like some toy or some thing someone had. Maybe they stuck in there like a little time capsule, but I'm trying to think what it was.
Well, even if it wasn't an item, how about a surprise in terms of what are we going to do now? Where
we get those all the time. Like we find like asbestos vents that were buried years before in the other remodels, and they didn't too lazy to take them out, or brick walls that shouldn't be there, or block walls that shouldn't be like what did they do here? Or sometimes we find like secret little rooms or secret little safes, people had made a place for a safe, to hide money or guns or whatever they're hiding. But yeah, we find those kind of fun things too, but it's fun.
Speaking of money, have you found money?
Technically we found change.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. I can't imagine, you're talking about decades and decades and decades of people living in a place. And I totally got a visual, Julie, when you said the brick wall.
Oh, yeah.
They sheetrocked over it or, built over it. Wow.
Yeah, they get lazy. They get lazy. It's so funny. And they just kind of do things like, half-ass, I always call it. But the histories, mysteries come out. Like one house we did just recently, there was 3 layers of siding inside the living room. So obviously that living room was a porch. Back in the 30s, we found out, we'll figure it out because it was obvious it was wood siding. And we're like, what the hell is this doing under the plaster? So they had plastered over 2 layers of exterior siding. And I'm like, hey, that's not very good. But all kinds of mysteries at this point. We found doors in the walls that went to rooms that shouldn't be there. We're like, why is this door going? Because that must have been outside. And then one door went to the living room where there used to be bookcases. So it was like, wow, all this history's mysteries. Yeah, it was funny.
That's so cool.
It is cool because once you peel it back, you're like, hey, and then you start to put it together. It's fun. I
can just imagine the call from your team. Julie, you're not going to believe what we found.
Oh, they go, yeah, check this out. Like, what the?
Found another Coors can, add it to the collection.
I swear that we just laugh because every time, and then sometimes the guy's name will be signed right above it, like James so-and-so was here.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, nowadays you can't even really find Coors. It's all Coors Light for decades. So it's kind of funny.
Isn't it funny? That's the old classic cans. Yep.
Yeah, classic cans. We're out of time. I love talking with you. I could keep on going. It's just it's cool. It really is, like all different aspects of what you do. because you do everything when it comes to
Well, that's just
designing and
it.
building.
I think in the future, all more women should be in construction, and all designers should be contractors, and all contractors should be designers and architects. We should cross over more because it really helps the client, and that's what it's all about. Like, why are we doing this? We're supposed to help them. That's
Well,
my philosophy.
I don't want to generalize here, but most guys aren't so emotional. They're not driven as much by emotion, and that's what makes you different.
Well, I do take it into account because trust me, guys are emotional. They gossip all day on the job site. Are you kidding?
Oh,
But they're emotional in a different way. But we like to actually listen to the client and get into it, and deal with their emotion, because that's what makes the world go around. And when you're designing someone's home, it's emotional. I mean, that's what it is. It's emotional.
yeah. Let me correct what I said. Guys are emotional just because of society. We're not able or not supposed to show that much emotion.
There you go. Exactly.
However, when a boy is born, he has more emotional intelligence than a girl, much more. But yeah, it's scientifically proven. But
Interesting.
yes, but you would never think that because of the way society is, and it's always told, yeah, big boys don't cry and all of that.
Yeah, no, it's every culture raises their boys different too, and that's kind of sad because they really keep them out of it, where they should express themselves more.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to get emotional because I want to talk more and I'm out of time. So,
okay, Steve. Until next time. Until next Thursday.
Yeah, your website, share it.
That's julielaughton.com, Julielaughton.com. Easy peasy.
Always love talking with you. I never know where I'm going to find you next time, but we'll find out in a week. Thank you so much.
You will. I'll have a new job. See you then. Thanks,
All
Steve.
right.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.